Alright, you want to know how easy it is to build a fender for a bobber? Come over to my bench, let me show you. Alright, here's the process. Grab a piece of sheet metal. And then, voila, you have a fender. Who am I kidding? Stick around for this episode, I'll show you how I made it. Welcome back to the Go Cycles YouTube channel. This is episode number 2 of the quarantine bobber build. Right now, we have here in Ohio, we pretty much have been ordered to shelter in place for the past 2 weeks. Last week, we chopped the rear end off and installed the hardtail. There's a link to that right up there. And this week, I needed to get the fender built. So basically, last week, I started on this fender using a flat piece of 18 gauge steel. So this is what this fender started out like. 18 gauge, cold rolled steel. And some people may ask, so why didn't you just buy a fender to put on a bike? Yes, I could have. In fact, I already had one. But to me, there really isn't a lot of fun in that. And since I'm already confined to the house and trying to get something done on this bike, I kind of want all of it to be my own. So it's a small fender. I actually tried, you can see here, I was going to, see if I can get that to focus. This was going to be like an accent I was going to do in the bead roller. The problem is the fender was actually too round and it could not fit in between the rails because they're really small. So I don't know if I'll probably just leave it flat and probably hammer that back out so it'll look nice, and we'll just leave it the way it is. But without further ado, let's get started. First things first, I'm going to take this piece of 18 and put a little bit of a crown right in the middle of it so we can start to get the crown running on the fender. And we'll put it up in the English wheel and start rolling. Now you can see there's all these bumps from where I beat the crap out of this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to chuck it up in the English wheel. We're going to try to get all those bumps out. Switch to the rubber band and a bigger radius die on the bottom to try to get the arc out of the fender. As you can see, it just needs bent this way now. Alright, it may be a little easier to talk about this with the wheel holding it, but now we're starting to get more curvature this way. You know, we had it this way to start with by beating it down in the sandbag, but getting the curvature this way is what takes a little while. So I'm continuously stretching it. You can see where I grabbed and put the rubber band here on the big wheel, turn the piece sideways and rolled it back and forth. Now I'm going to take it back over to the shrinker. I'm really going to focus on, because the edges are shrunk pretty good, I'm going to really focus, you know, here and here on both sides and really try to draw those together to try to bring these ends down a little bit on both sides. Then we'll check it back up in the wheel, and we're just going to continue to do this till we get the shape we want. Now you can see I got some decisions to make. I don't know how far I want the side of the fender to come down. I still need to put it in the planching hammer and obviously smooth all this stuff out, but I have my radius around around the fender that way. And then obviously I'm really close here. I got a little hump on this side I gotta fix, which I'll probably do in the planching hammer. I'll probably just shrink this on the shrinker real quick, then throw it in the planching hammer to fix that. But that's the top of the fender. And again, it's probably gonna sit, I don't know, back here somewhere. Yeah, probably somewhere right in there. I want enough to where it's kind of like straight back from where that piece of swing arm was, and then, you know, like 1 o'clock off of the axle. So, and then I'll do some shaping around that. But I got some decision making to do. Keep going. Alright, I got the top section done with the fender. Now, work on the sides. I'm going to probably just drop maybe like 1 inch down on both sides and weld it together. Alright, trimmed. Let's see, trimmed the rear, trimmed the front, just rough trimmed the front end. I got a little hand dolly work to do up here in the front. You can see it all came out. You can see the reflections in the light. It all came out pretty smooth. Alright, it's the next morning. I put a poll up last night on Instagram and Facebook just to kind of get some ideas of what guys thought about the fender and if I should put a side on it, whether I should bead roll it. Right now it sounds like I need to do both. I'm gonna go based off of what most of you said, and we'll put sides on this fender and then we'll start working on some bead rolling. To make sides, I'm gonna make them a lot longer than they need to be and then trim it off. So I'll make my line here based on what I have. And then I'll cut this out. And then we'll roll that edge. Alright, I pretty much have the right hand side of this shaped. It's pretty rough in a couple places. All I did was good old fashioned hammer and dolly. Hammer, dolly chucked up in the vise where I can just set it up on here and work on bending some of this stuff out. So now, I'm probably going to bring the MIG welder over here just to work on one side. You can see I have little alignment marks there. We'll line this up on here. It's kind of hard to hold it in the same spot. And then I'm just going to tack it on a couple places with the MIG welder. I'll TIG weld it all on when I'm done. But I'm then going to take it over the planishing hammer and try to get these two to match up pretty well. Once it's welded on a couple spots with the MIG, it should be all right. So let me get this tacked up. I do get questions from time to time about, because I did do an unboxing of my Eastwood Digital TIG 200. How does it work? You know, how do you like it? Has it held up? And I still use it, obviously. We're getting ready to use it now. Still using the stock torch. The only thing I changed was I went to a gas lens setup. The settings I'm using for this Fender, I'm going to be using a number 8 cup, and I'll be pulsing about every half a second between 75 amps and 35 amps. Let's get started. Alright, I got sides on it. There's a lot of work for, I don't know, probably around 1/2 inch. But it really made the fender extremely rigid, so it probably needed to happen anyway. So I think that this is pretty much how I'm going to mount it. It's going to mount pretty far forward. Somewhere in here. So we're going to be pretty much, you know, right around 12 o'clock on the wheel, and then we're coming down just below the swing arm where the battery tray will be, because I really didn't want trash flipping up off the road into the battery, so I want to make sure I had it covered as well. So that's pretty much, well, that about right there is where it's going to land. Alright, I think that about wraps it up for episode 2. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the little bead rolled into the fender that I wanted, but I have some plans of maybe if I build a tank, how I can maybe incorporate something like that in the top of the tank. If you like what you see and want to see more episodes like this build, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new content. Check us out on our website at goheencycles.com. If you have questions, feel free to leave me a comment right in the comments section. I'll try to get back with you. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks for stopping by.